And hello, everybody. Welcome to Ohio State Primetime here on the Voice of College Football. I am your host, Garrison Gaddy. Today, Ryan Stano is not here, my co-host. He will actually be on tomorrow. I'm guessing around 8 o'clock, going over all the recruiting on early signing day for Ohio State, and also talk about other things such as the college football ranking. So make sure you tune in tomorrow and see him. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already yet. And now let's get to it. Jay Crawford on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show had some very interesting comments that, of course, would I don't want to say rile up, but we'll definitely get the Ohio State fan base going. He says here, and I'm reading this to you. Urban Meyer is open to returning to the Ohio State Buckeyes. Urban never wanted to leave Ohio State, Crawford said. His hands were forced because the administration at the time did not like how powerful Urban was, which he was. He was the president, man. And he's not bigger than the logo, but as close as it gets. Urban had become at the university, and so there was a real power struggle. Note that the two main players that forced Urban out are not there. Also said that he spoke to two people that are close to Urban and said that he's not only open to it, but possibly quite interested in returning to it. And now my initial thoughts, now, here, I'll tell you this much. I have always been a proponent of saying that after the national championship, what we saw from the Ohio State program was not bad. It was still really good, really good. But there was a lot of things that happened after the national championship that a lot of the fan base, rightfully so, were upset with Urban about. Not to the same extent as we are right now with Ryan Day, of course, but we are very upset. You look at the Michigan State game after the national championship that kind of cost us a chance to go back to back in the game where he barely gave Ezekiel the ball, and Ezekiel had that famous press conference where, in all reality, maybe he shouldn't have said it, but he was correct. He should have got the ball more. You fast forward, you got the 31-0 loss at Clemson. I remember that game perfectly, man. I was on duty that day on my ship when I was in the Navy and heard that, watched that, and it was god awful. And then you have the Iowa game, and then you have the Purdue game, and everything that led up to Ryan Day's tenure here at Ohio State, him being the head coach. With that being said, I've always been a proponent of saying that I would never want Urban back at Ohio State. But right now, I would love to know what everyone thinks. Because right now, I would say that our fan base is in a very emotional state right now. And even though I try not to be as emotional, I understand. And I would never, ever say anyone's wrong for being emotional about what has happened over the last 4 years with Ryan Day and this team, and specifically the class of 2021. But man, bringing Urban back, I think I'm gonna say it would. It could possibly set the program back. At the same time, it could probably push it forward. I was talking to a very well-known Michigan fan. We were just chopping up for a few seconds, and then I also saw the same sentiment from people, from Wolverine fans in the comments, and saying they do not want him to come back. There is a real fear in the Michigan fan base of Urban Meyer. Why is that? One of the reasons for myself would be, well, doggone it, the guy went undefeated against them. He did. And he did it in a spectacular fashion. He owned them. He never shied away from the game. Even though we always want the Big Ten championship, we want the national championship. He made it. He stressed how important that game is. Great quote from him that I love. It's not a big game. It's a way of life. As an Ohio State fan, I believe that. I'm sure everyone else believes that. I'm born and raised in the state of Michigan. So I have a very different view as a Buckeye fan. And man, yeah, it's very important to me also because I don't like going throughout my everyday life having to hear about these losses. And so that's the one reason why they're afraid of him. A second reason, he's born in Ohio, bred in Ohio, breathes Ohio. And with that being said, I'm from Michigan, so I also understand how important that is to residents in the state of Ohio, and it's different, man. It's different, especially when you have a lineage of family that comes from being an Ohio State fan base, in the Ohio State fan base. And then my last reason for why they're afraid of him, man, in an era now where NIL is happening and it's big time. It's big time. Dude, Urban Meyer would take full advantage of that. And when you add in the fact that we have Ross Bjork, who, I mean, you look at his track record over at Texas A&M, dude, I think those two would mesh very well in an era that we have now, and where players are allowed to be paid, and very handsomely at that, as you can tell from the University of what Teton did with trying to spend a ransom to keep someone at home. So those are my three reasons. So let's talk here about Urban's years at Ohio State. You go to 2012, we're coming off of that 6-7 season with Luke Fickell as the interim head coach. He comes in right away, 12-0. 12-0. And there's a section of the fan base that does believe, including me, we could have won the national championship that year. We could have. And a lot of people are mad that, we handed down that the suspensions on players, we handed down the bowl bans. We did all that to ourselves. My only counterpart to that would be, well, if we didn't, we probably would have gotten hit harder. I've always thought that it's better to self-sanction than letting the NCAA do it, and in good grief, who knows what they'll do. After that, he goes 12-2, 14-1. As we all know what that ended with in 2014, the next year, 12-1, 11-2, 12-2, 10-1. And of course, those are just regular season games. Now, Ohio State is, unless something drastic happens, like the world ending, Ohio State is always going to be good at football. Ohio State is always going to have players. The brand is the brand. Though I have said, and here also, that I've always been against Urban Meyer coming back. Man, let's be honest here. If Urban came back, man, would that it's not a breath of fresh air because we've had him before, right? This would be, as I put in here, part 2 of him. But it would create the most insane excitement I think this fan base will ever have. Even more excitement than we had when he first came. Even more. Like, let's think about it here. And I guess, honestly, for myself, because I've been someone who said he shouldn't come back, and I know what I want him back. In my eyes, he is the greatest Ohio State coach of all time. In my eyes, he's the greatest Big Ten coach of all time. Don't care what anyone else says. Don't care. I understand when we can bring up Woody. He's better than Woody. He's better than Woody. And the only reason I say is because when we have to nitpick at these greats, there's things that you have to be accounted for. You have to be things have to be accounted for. He lost a 10-year war. That's fact. Ryan Day doesn't know what it's like to lose to them. He doesn't. He doesn't. He is the golden child of Ohio State football and of Ohio. He's the one. He is. I want to go to some of the comments here. Stan, yes, I do, dude. I'm over here talking myself into it right now. I don't blame you for feeling that way. I really don't. Jackson, always good to see you, man. Thank you for showing up in here. And I also saw that Alabama is still in the playoffs. I got to talk to you about that sometime. Choctaw, yes, please, dude. I get it. All right, now here we go. William Boyle, you're on crack. Urban ain't coming back, dude. That's kind of funny, but yes, and like common sense would tell me, yeah, he ain't coming back. I'm simply going by what Jay Crawford said and what he reported, saying he's from Ohio. So I'm not surprised if he had connections and ways to talk to people that had connections with Urban. And if he talked to two people that said that, should I take it for face value? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. But I'm going to hear it out. Yeah, again, Choctaw, yeah, it's looking real. It does. And there's a lot of other people who are reporting on it right now who I do trust personally, guys on other shows. And man, it's wild. It's wild to even think that we're at this place right now. Ryan Gage, Urban is close to our family. He will never come back. Ryan, dude, like I said, you know what? I'll say the same for you. Maybe so, maybe not. I'll try to take you for face value on this. There's a lot of conflicting reports on this, and also a lot of conflicting opinions. I'm someone who would say that Urban Meyer's not going to come back. Not because Buckeye fans wouldn't want him back, but because it just, I can't even fathom it happening because it seems surreal to me. I just can't. If we interview Kerry Combs, I'll turn it my back on. Yo, dude, okay, man. Good to see you in here, my brother. No, man, listen. If I ever see Kerry Combs, ever, and I mean ever in Columbus, Ohio, let alone getting an interview, yeah, we riot. We riot. Steve, good to see you in here, man. Urban coming home, brother. Like I said, man, if I don't think it's gonna happen, I have steadily said I don't want it to happen, but if it did, I'm not gonna sit here and like I said this on Scarlet and Blue Show. If you guys haven't checked out, please go check it out. I'm never gonna come here and lie to you guys. I'm never gonna do that. Maybe you disagree on things I've said, and that's fair. Everything I say is not correct. Everything I say is not fact. But I'm never gonna come in here and lie to you. If Urban Meyer came back, pure Buckeye propaganda out of me. Pure Buckeye propaganda out of me. I will go out there and shout it from the mountains how happy I am that Urban's back. Even though I said I don't want him back. Even though I said not maybe. That is hypocritical. But I will be very excited, dude. Come on, man. Who doesn't want to see Urban Meyer back in the side? Like it's crazy. It's crazy to even think about. It's crazy to say, but man, it would just be out of this world. Kevin here says, is Urban Meyer still up to task for head coaching, especially in this era? His personality may need some adjusting, if so, because of the transfer portal. And it's more than just Urban. It's an entire coaching staff. I see what you say here. And guys, no, nothing about Kerry Combs. I don't want to say anything about Kerry Combs coming back to Ohio State. But this right here, is he up to the task? That's a great question. It is a new era. A lot of old school coaches, they don't really like this. Of course, like guys like Nick Saban. I would be one to tell you I think that Urban Meyer would love this era. And why do I say that? And here comes something that maybe a lot of Buckeye fans don't want to hear, but I'm going to say it nonetheless. Because it's my opinion. Of course, this is in fact. Urban, I don't know if you guys ever watched the Chappelle show, but on there they said habitual line stepper. Urban Meyer is an habitual line stepper. I'm not gonna sit here and say he did any, like we all know the Florida story. I'm not gonna sit here and say what he might have been doing at Ohio State, but this is what I really believe this. He would thrive in this era. I think he would. Um, his personality, I think is Kevin. I would love to know what you think his personality is. Please comment here. Tell me what you think his personality is. I think, for me personally, I believe his personality fits well because he's a fiery guy. He doesn't hold. He doesn't hold back. He doesn't mince words. He's very straightforward. And so I think a lot of young guys would like that. A lot of guys in the transfer portal would like that, of course, because they're older, more adulty, you know. But no, that's a good way to look at it. I'm not mad at that question at all. Those are very fair questions. Let's get Matt Campbell, dude. That actually, man. Shoot, I'm blanking on the Lions offensive coordinator's name. Brad Johnson. Yeah. Now he's never going to do that. He's going to stay in the NFL. But if we could get Brad Johnson, that would actually be crazy if Ryan Day doesn't win a national championship this year, or it's just a bed next year. Marcus Freeman. So if you watched our show yesterday, I was at first against it. And my awesome co-host Ryan, I was sitting there thinking to myself, but as he kept talking, man, he talked me into it. I that's not a bad name in terms of future tense, in case of whatever happens. And I'm one to believe he would take he would leave Notre Dame for the Ohio State job. Facts. He is an elite. He is elite at that. He knows talent. That's without a question. Without a question. All right. So here, all right, thank you, Kevin. Urban can get into his players' ass and staff. Facts. Some of these recruits may not like that. Take that lightly and move on. Yeah. Okay. I understand that. But many players do like the hard-nosed coaching. The portal gives top players more leverage. I like that, Kevin. That's a great response. Yeah, I can agree with most of that. I really do. Choctaw Eddie George. I gotta see more out of him. I gotta see more. Eddie George is one of my favorite players of all time. Like, he played when I was very young, barely could even understand football. But my dad made sure that I could watch those guys and see those old games. Yeah, Eddie George, legend. I gotta see more out of him, but I'm not off of it. I'm not off of it. I can't even. Okay. Oh God. Yeah, I don't know if these kids can handle urban approach. Maybe not. Maybe not. Like I said, listen. Man, how do I say this? Like, I love urban, but I don't know how to say this. I'm gonna say something, chat, and you let me know if I'm right or if I'm wrong. Urban's a douche. He's a douchebag. And most college football coaches that reach the greatness that he does, even NFL coaches, they're the same. They are the same. So yeah, his the way he handles is different. His approach is very different. But Ron, what I will say is this: at the end of the day, this is high level D1 college football at the top. This is top tier. If you can't handle that, I don't know what to tell you. Shh, it's too early, bro. I just got here, bro. I just got here. Come on. They got a good dude and a douche at the same time. Yeah, I believe he's a good guy. I do too. I believe he's a good guy too. But this isn't even about college football. Even at the if you're at the top of your profession and and this isn't for everybody, okay? I'm generalizing right now, of course, but this is everybody. You're usually at the top of your profession. You have some type of mean streak to you. You have it. Dude, go look at Jim Harbaugh while he was up in Ann Arbor. A lot of people said that in the locker room for for the staff, dude, it was eat or be eaten. He was very tough on them, and that's why to reach that level, man, you have to be that way. You have to. Nick. Yes. Look, let's talk about Ryan Day real quick. As a human, I think Ryan Day is a great human being. I really do. I think he's a really good coach. He's not a great coach. I don't throw around that word great a lot. He's a really good coach, but he's a great and better person than he is. We all know his story. Maybe he lacks it. I've told plenty of times I've said that if Ryan Day ever wants to hit that next level at Ohio State, he has to become Urban Meyer. He has to become Woody Hayes. Don't get it twisted. Jim Tressel is one of the most beautiful people you will ever meet on this earth. He's got that mean streak to him too. Also, Ryan Day doesn't. He has it here and there, but it's not who he is. And so, yeah, man. And the team will always reflect the head coach. It will always do that. Always. And yeah, maybe we do need it. We do. We need it. Steve here saying Urban could care less what people think about him, whereas Day is ultra sensitive. Facts. Facts, Steve. Ron, I'm gonna keep saying it. When we get that ultimate dual threat QB, we're gonna be a wrecking ball. Man, I understand that we have Julian Sand, and I'm excited to see. If barring Devin Brown becoming the next greatest thing ever at Ohio State, I think Julian Sand is going to be the quarterback next year, more than likely. But next year we have a guy coming in, another Ohio native, and man, let's not forget, like just keeping this with Urban Meyer also. When Urban Meyer came to Ohio State, his quarterback was an Ohio kid, Braxton Miller, #1 recruit out of the state of Ohio, quarterback. I mean, dude, like, could you imagine if Urban Meyer had Tavian St. Clair? You got the Ohio boys coming back together. You got another Ohio boys duo as a head coach and quarterback. And speaking to what Ron's saying here about having another dual threat, man, I think Tavian is the one. Julian Sands, I think, is going to be a really good quarterback, possibly great at Ohio State. But I think that Tavian St. Clair is the one. I wouldn't rule it out. And my co-host Ryan Stano said the same thing. I'm not going to rule out that he could possibly start next year as a true freshman. I'm not going to rule that out. So there's a couple other things I want to ask the chat about here when it comes to Urban Meyer. Do you think there is a let's say a negative that could come out of Urban Meyer coming back? Now, we all know the whole situation that happened, and with Urban getting suspended for 3 games. We all know that. Was it 3 or 4 games, whatever it was, it didn't matter. Ultimately, resigning, and let's be honest here, everybody. Urban Meyer didn't resign. He was pushed out. He was pushed out, just like Jay Crawford said, and I wholly believe that also. So he was essentially fired. And just so we're clear, everybody, I don't think he should have been. I don't. And there's a lot of other things that come after that into why I believe he shouldn't have been. But do you think there's any negative to bringing back your old coach who you had the gold? I would say the highest peak years of Ohio State football and bringing him back. This is not an exact comparison, okay? But you look over at Schiano at Rutgers. Now, unless you like, I'm 31 years old, so I'm a geezer over here. But I remember when Schiano was there, man, and you had Louisville and West Virginia having their battles in the Big East, man. That was a great time to be alive. That was when college football was pure, somewhat. But no, but he comes back, and of course the landscape has changed. The landscape has changed. It would be the same for Urban here. The landscape has changed to an extent. So not as drastically as it did for Schiano and Rutgers, but it has. So the only negatives I could see coming from it would be, I mean, as it was mentioned earlier by Kevin, his approach. NIL. Like, we don't actually know how Urban feels about NIL. I think he's spoken on it a few times, but he's not against it. But I don't know how he would go about it. A personal problem of mine, his quarterback recruiting. You know, a lot of people say that Ryan Day won with his recruits in 2019, and that's essentially true, except at one position, and that's quarterback. That quarterback room was garbage until Ryan Day was reached out to and got Justin Fields. That season could have been a whole lot different. A whole lot different. Tate Martell in that quarterback room. Something another thing. Let's all be honest here. A JT Barrett level quarterback is not playable at the current Ohio State. It is not. Can't happen. It can't. If we had another Simba, Dwayne Haskins, RIP, if we had another him, yes. But no. So I've always questioned his quarterback recruiting, and I'm not sure if in today's game if it would translate. I just don't. I don't know what his offense would look like if it would translate. Like I just those are the questions I would have into bringing Urban Meyer back. So let's get to the comments here. Let's see where we leave off. Here we go. Ryan Cooper Days, unfortunately, is what it is. Hey, man, you know what, Choctaw, me and Ryan, my co-host, we disagree with that to an extent, but I understand why people feel that way. I really do. Well, I know what you're talking about here, Kevin. Facts. Urban is too distracted with his other business interests, and probably distracted with other things. But but no, maybe so. I could I don't know Urban's business interests. I do know he owns some bars and restaurants. Maybe so. But if what Jay Crawford is saying is true, clearly it's not. But again, I don't know if it's fact or not. I don't know if it's true or not. So again, we'll have to hold off and see what comes up out of there. Choctaw, bringing him back would blow up the NIL. Fully agree. Fully agree. I nothing to add to that. Let's see. We've been unfortunate the last few years. We'll have a great quarterback Stroud with a bad defense. Yeah, then we'll have a really good defense with the average QB. Courthouse, dude, it's amazing how how Ryan hasn't been able to outside of 2019. He hasn't been able to get it all together on the team. And the biggest problem now is that it's not leaking. We've seen it for 3 years now. The special not just special teams, specifically the kicking game is just, you can't explain it. I don't know. why we can't kick field goals. I almost got depressed there thinking about it. L Dog, today's Michigan will retire Urban like we were. You guys, okay, let's get this straight real quick. You guys didn't retire Nick Saban. Nick Saban left because Nick Saban wanted to, and he's tired of college football. You can tell on his face he's tired of college football. It's very easy to see. Yes, Urban may lose a lot of depth pieces in today's game. He plays a lot of psychological games in the name of weeding out the weak and pushing players. Facts. You know, I'm sure everyone knows the Terry McLaurin story when he was he was asking he was asking why why we were even at the football camp at Ohio State, why we even recruiting him. Brought him into his office and told him he could never play at Ohio State. And hey, even with all that being said, Terry still committed to Ohio State and still became what he is today. Scary Terry, man, one of the best receivers in the NFL. So that is facts. That is facts. Freshman JT Barrett could play in today's Ohio State. The only reason I say no is because of that offensive line. The only reason. And I'll be damned if I ever see a game where we're running quarterback powers all game again. I can't live through that again. That was tough to watch. Again, you're not only one saying Urban is looking like a sheer lock possible. I think that the only way Urban Meyer will come back is if Ryan Day was fired next year, or possibly this year. But I think if Ryan Day was fired at the end of this season or at the end of next season, I think Urban would come back, or there would be a chance. I would give it more. I'll give more credence to it of him coming back. And the only reason I would say next year more than this, so more so this year, is because after the events of Saturday and adding on what Jay Crawford reported, I would think that Urban would want to get some things going. He would want to reach out to some guys for a future coaching staff, asking guys if they would be interested. He would have to go through his playbook again and mix some things up. So, yeah, that's the reason I would say that. But man, sheer lock. Man, this news is crazy. The news is crazy because it wasn't on my bingo card. It just wasn't. Even after the loss on Saturday, I just could never even bring nothing in my life and nothing that I've seen on anywhere would tell me Urban Meyer is thinking about coming back to Columbus, Ohio, drinking the holy water out of the old Intangi and coaching the Buckeyes on Saturdays. I just nothing tells me that. And to see it, to hear it, yeah, man, it's amazing. It's amazing to hear. Let's see. Nick saying play calling was awful this year when it counted. Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean, you look at the Oregon game, defensive play calling was horrible. You know, we sit there and we leave Burke on an island when clearly he couldn't cover, and he gives up 8 for 8, 179 yards, while the rest of the secondary gives up 162. You can't make that shit up, people. You really can't. And then you have this game on Saturday where need I say more? We know what happened. We know what happened. Chata, I couldn't see Dave getting fired either. He's not getting fired after this season, everybody. He's not getting fired after this season. I think the only way it could possibly happen is if, say, whoever we play in the first round went out there and gave us a roundhouse kick to the jaw. That is the only way that could happen. Outside of that, I think Ryan Day's his show me year is next year. His show me year is next year. And the reason I love that his show me year is next year is because it's going to be a new team. The team's going to look a lot different. So is that team up north. They're going to look a lot different. And I got asked by somebody, a Michigan fan. They said, do you think Ryan Day would ever go 1-7? Dude, Ryan Day would never reach 1-7 because he'll be gone before that. He would be gone before that. He's 1-4 right now. You think they would let him get 3 more losses? Hell no. Stop it. Like it just there's no way Ohio State would subject themselves to that. There's no way that the institution, forget the athletic department, forget the program. The institution would not let that happen. It would not. Choctaw, it was awful versus Oregon and Michigan. Oh yeah. I forgot about Nebraska. I was only bringing out like the actual losses. But yes, Nebraska, Northwestern, and of course, Penn State and Indiana. I understand Indiana's not, they're not Bama, they're not Oregon, they're not Texas, but it's still top 5 win, baby. Yes, it still is. What can I say? Yeah, man, it's a wild day, man. There's a lot of news going around. There's a lot of players transferring. You saw that the Wolverines, Sharon Moore fired Kirk Campbell, which also allowed me to just, toot my own horn here. A lot of Michigan fans said that I was wrong for saying that we lost that game more than they won it, and that they did everything they needed to do on offense to win the game, and they ran their game plan just as what they needed on offense. If that was the case, you would have kept him as your offensive coordinator. If that was the case, clearly it's not. So, hopefully he does well selling cars in the upcoming months. See what we got here. Kevin, Ohio State can still win the Natty. I believe so also. The chances aren't high. True. Due to the online injuries, but they have the talent and veterans to possibly do it. They do. Though I believe I'm not going to call Ryan Day a weak coach or like a weak person, but he has a flaw in him that makes him, I think, he coaches the game emotionally sometimes. He coaches the game emotionally, and you can't do that. You can't do that. And though I do believe that maybe some of the players on this team do the same, they play emotionally, like guys like Burke. I think his emotions get the better of him, and that's why sometimes he gets beaten. Iggy's holding doesn't have any, and pass interference doesn't have anything to do with emotions. His emotion is actually pretty good. I think that is just that he plays corner like a linebacker. But the veterans on this team I think they are themselves tough guys. Well, not tough guys. I don't like saying that. They are tough, and they are I think they're strong-minded guys. Strong-willed. And it sucks. I do love this class. I love the players in this class. The guys on this team. I'm kind of ready for them to go so we can move on and go see what's next. But I am. I think these guys on their best day can win the national championship. The question is, can the offensive line get together? You got 3 weeks to do it. So you better do it. And can they get their minds right? So, yeah, man, it's tough. Days earned next year over his body of work, but a short leash. I agree. You think Day job is secure, but you smoked in round 2 against Oregon? Say if it was against Oregon. Because that'll be the only way we get. I mean, either them or Texas. Like, say if it was today, right? I think it would be Oregon, Texas, Boise, and SMU. I believe. Yeah, SMU. Only 2 of those teams could possibly do that to us, and I don't think it would happen. But if it happened, saying like no insane circumstances happened in the game or before, so maybe. Kevin, am I wrong? Ohio State beat themselves at 4 times. Michigan red zone attempts where they missed 2 field goals. Why'd you bring that up, Choctaw? Threw an interception, LOL. If they execute, we would have won at least 35-10. Yes. And Michigan, I'm glad Trayvon has no more eligibility. He ran hard and it scared me every year. Dude, yeah. Travion Henderson, a lot of people are getting on him right now for praying after the game and his comments on I can't remember. There's a really cool podcast. If you guys are interested, I can't remember right now. I'll get it here soon. I'll look it up. But how to say this? I understand for Buckeye fans that when Travion, he's talking about his faith because he's he's a devout Christian and um he's looking at it at a different scale, guys, and I understand that. And it's not just of him being a Christian; it could be for a lot of people that view life in a different way. He's looking at it, man, on a different level, and that's what it is. But yes, Travion Henderson. He's not one of the best. He's not even top 10. He's not even in the top 10 Ohio State running back of all time, but he's definitely one of the most talented. And also, he's one of the most likable Buckeyes of all time. Let's just call it what it is. Like, I don't know one Buckeye fan that can honestly say in their heart that they don't love Travion Henderson. We all do. And even on the Scarlet and Blue show, my co-host Bryce on there, he says it all the time. He can't stand how much he loves Travion Henderson. So, yeah, it's a weird thing. Michigan fans love Travion Henderson, and I get it. Yeah, and I think if we play Tennessee, we win that game. I really do. Our offense didn't look good Saturday, but their offense has been struggling all season. I think we'd win that. Ron Garrett, I got you back. These T-Ton podcasts are having a field day. Oh, yeah, you see it, man. That's why the most annoying thing is hearing them bums. Dude, and listen, I had every right to feel the way I did about Ohio State going into this game last Saturday, and I thought that they would do what they were supposed to do, like everyone else. Like even Michigan fans, we all thought they would do what they were supposed to do. They didn't. And so, look, there's a lot of guys out there that I'm really cool with. Go check. Also, if you have the time, go check out Voice College Football, the Michigan channel with TJ Rowan and John on there. Man, they're great. But them, Maze Madman, Johnny. Like, there's a lot of guys I could name in Michigan. Podcasts I'm cool with. There's some, anyway, man, they're gonna have a field day with it. They're gonna have a field day with my comments and all the clip up videos they can do. And listen, man, it's cool. It's cool. But I appreciate you, Ron. I appreciate you, my guy. Trey said Michigan's not the enemy. Look. Okay, look. I get what you are saying. I do. I'm saying that when I understand, because look, like, well, for my own personal faith reasons, like, because I understand what he's saying. Yes, as a fan, you don't want to hear it. I get that. I get that. But when you're being introspective, like he is, and you're thinking he's thinking on a different and higher level than football. And it's not the best thing to hear after a loss, because here's the truth of the matter, Dave. Okay, if you said that after a blowout win against the Wolverines, you wouldn't say that right now. You wouldn't say it. At least I believe you wouldn't say that. So look, I get where you're coming from. I don't think you're wrong in the way you feel. I just think that understand where he's coming from. He's talking about something completely different. He's not talking about the game of football. He's talking about something completely different. Go look at Trey's stats against Michigan the last 3 or 4 years. Chip played well, and Junkins played well. I think Michigan was. No, I think that Chip Kelly was an idiot and didn't run to the outside. Oh no. I think, guys, if I wanted to, I could give you a full 2 hours of simply bashing on Chip Kelly. But that's not what we're here for right now. That's not what we're here for. Kevin here, we can beat Tennessee, but Tennessee does have a good D-line. Yes, they do. And O-line and better offense than Michigan. So they could beat us too. But this OSU team doesn't want to go out like that. No, they don't, and we don't want to see it either. Try to understand, my man. You know we good. Chip Kelly could. Cooper Day is crazy. That's crazy. Well, all right, guys. I'm gonna get out of here. Again, thank you for coming in with me. I see we have 112 people here. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe. Make sure you hit that like button on the video so we get through the algorithm. Again, tomorrow on Ohio State Primetime, Ryan Stanley will be here tomorrow talking recruiting on National Signing Day and also talking about the college football rankings that came out here just about an hour or so ago. Look, guys, I'm happy you're here. It will always be Ohio over. It will always be Ohio, everyone. Ohio versus everyone. It will always be that. OH.